Good morning. As I was saying, so much better cold and outside than warm and inside. Welcome families, faculty and staff, trustees, alumni, Carrie Kennedy, and friends. Congratulations, the wonderful class of 2025. Thank you, everyone, for being here. You have come from down the road, across the country, and, as it should be, around the world. This morning, we honor our seniors and their families. I also want to recognize our exceptional faculty and staff. You care so much for all of our students. You share your hearts and minds with this community. You do your best every day to help Putney students reach their full potential. We are grateful for you. Class of 2025, I want to start with simple words. Job well done. You are a truly incredible group of people, extraordinary learners, artists, and athletes. You are generous and you are fun. You grew because of your time at Putney, and Putney is better for having known you. We will miss you. Glenn, what are you doing? You know a Putney graduate when you see one. I have been trying to figure out how to summarize the achievements of this class. I wrote and I deleted and deleted some more. My resolve to not ask ChatGPT wavered, but I never faltered, I promise. And my issue was not that I had too little to say, but I had too much. Then I realized that the answer was before me, and it is maybe the highest praise I can offer the class of 2025. During your time, it's not gonna work. Uh-oh, David, I need help. Still not up. Not yet. All right, during your time at Putney, class of 2025.
You work not for marks, badges, or honors, but to discover truth and to grow in human understanding and knowledge of the universe, to treasure the hard stretching of oneself, to render service.
You learn to appreciate and participate in the creative arts, where you gave expression to our struggle for communication of our inner lives and for beauty, and you granted these arts great prestige.
You believed in manual labor and were glad to do one share of it, and were proud of the skills learned and in the doing.
You played just as wholeheartedly as you worked, and watched out a bit for the competitive angle, remembering that play is for recreation and an increased joy in living.
You lent a hand to the community at large and did not just live in an ivory tower.
You worked to combat prejudices caused by differences in economic, political, racial, and religious backgrounds. You strove for a world outlook, to put yourself in others' places, no matter how far away or how remote.
You brought very, very old and young to work together in a true comradeship relation, stressing community and its need for cooperation of all.
You stewarded and protected the land and sought ways to live on the earth that are healthy for all beings and to shape our community as a model of sustainable living.
And finally, you lived adventurously, though not recklessly, were willing to take risks as needed for your moral growth so that this school and the places you will go definitely progress along the long, slow road towards achieving a civilization worthy of the name.
For those of you who do not recognize those words, they are the 9 fundamental beliefs of the Putney School. They ground us. They give us something to aspire to. They are not common, and they send a thrill down my spine. And they represent what the class of 2025 has achieved at Putney. As a child, I attended Robert F. Kennedy Elementary School in Providence, Rhode Island, from kindergarten through grade 6. On the wall of my school was an excerpt from a speech that the father of our graduation speaker regularly gave. Robert Kennedy quoted George Bernard Shaw at the end of his speeches. There are those who look at things the way they are and ask why. I dream of things that never were and ask why not. The Putney School exists because our founder, Carmelita Hinton, had a dream for a high school that fostered not only individual achievement, but was a model for a way of life. She could not find what she wanted anywhere else. And she asked, why not? What did Ms. Hinton imagine? She dreamed of a school that was an extraordinary academic experience, more rigorous than typical because of high faculty expectations and approaches that fostered student curiosity and ingenuity. A commitment to using our hands to respect work and to take responsibility for our community. She dreamed of a profound respect for the creative arts and our creative impulses, of an equal respect for nature and the natural world, to a commitment to community beyond these hills in a coeducational setting, one of the first of its kind in the United States, and also a mandate to uplift civilization across borders and cultures. Think for a minute about all that Carmelita Hinton believed that adolescents could do, what she trusted they could accomplish. Aiming high is not all that typical, but that's just what the Putney School does. We do what others dare not imagine. Class of 2025, I think you were such good fits for Putney because you dared to imagine, because you dared to ask, why not? There is an old tradition in schools that lives on far past its utility. It happens in places large and small, formal and fancy, and practical. We do it here. Faculty gather to review graduating seniors and to confirm their fitness for a Putney diploma. It's been a long time since this meeting changed outcomes, but it was a chance for us to reflect on your journeys through this school. I left it filled with all the things the class of 2025 dared to imagine. What high school students audit for no credit a philosophy for social change class that they've already taken and passed because the books the class were reading were different the second time? Putney students do. What high school students have language waivers because of learning differences, but study Spanish for 2 years anyway because they love the language and now will travel to Guatemala to keep learning Spanish next year? Putney students do. What high school students devour book after book for pleasure? No one reads books anymore. Right? But our students read book after book for pleasure, from Russian literature to philosophy that I can't untangle. Putney students do. What high school students spend years building a historical archive for the school and then sharing it so generously? Putney students do. What high school students make their own clothes for graduation? This is really badass, by the way. Putney students do. What high school students get to do original work on brainwaves and share their research with Rutgers scientists who treat them like peers? Putney students do. What high school students volunteer to wake up at 5:30 in the morning, 6 days a week, to milk cows and shovel manure? Putney students do. What high school students play goalie for the first time in overtime of a league championship game and block all but one penalty kick to win the match? Putney students do. What high school students win grand prizes in blacksmithing contests while competing against engineering colleges that have all the fancy tools? Putney students do. What high school students spend hours and hours sitting in meetings of their school board of trustees, leading school councils, and devoting their time to bringing students and adults together as student heads of school? Putney students do. I could go on and on. I am proud of so many things that came out of our senior review. I love how the class of 2025 is interested in so many things. For example, here is how Melissa Johnson described Erin. She is an intellectual, a soccer player, a ceramicist, a farmer, and an auto mechanic. Melissa was talking about Erin, but she could have been talking about any of you. The other morning, I received an email from a physics friend of Glenn's who was praising Charlie Perry's original astronomical work during her exhibition. I was telling a story to a visitor that afternoon as we walked up to the weaving studio. Who is behind a loom, working so hard she didn't see us? Charlie Perry. That evening, I took my kids to the musical. Who was singing and acting their heart out? Charlie Perry. Erin and Charlie are not unique. Well, they are. Yeah. Right. I take that back. Right. But each of you, in your own ways, are Erin and Charlie too. I'm getting to the important part now. Right. Putney has helped you evade something that feels really pernicious to me. We live in a world that demands you specialize, hyper-focus on one thing at the expense of anything else. You have to choose. Be an academic, an athlete, an artist. Even within these categories, you have to pick what sport, what field and art. Fail to choose, and horrors, you'll fall behind. This is not the rich life that Carmelita imagined. And it is not one that you, class of 2025, have had to live. Instead, you got, as Brian Quarrier said the other day, an opportunity to play in the playground of your dreams. Seniors. Thank you. You will be better for this. Think of all of the paths in front of you. One thing is certain. You will go on to lead interesting lives. I never worry about this for Putney graduates. Second, I was reminded last week of your humility, your spirit, and your curiosity. Here are some of the ways that your teachers described you. Brilliant and kind, a genius and humble, a kind and generous soul. I don't really know how to put this well, but you inspired us, class of 2025, with your curiosity, with your intelligence, and with your drive to learn from Boggs and from books, from wood shops and looms, and from farms in outer space. And as far as I can tell, you did none of this incredible work to look good for colleges or to show us how much smarter you were than everybody else. You did these things for yourselves, and sometimes you did it for others. During your senior exhibitions, so many of you gave back to Putney in some way. Teaching in our community's second grade classroom, building workbenches and organizing wood storage, improving trail maps and welcome kiosks, creating furniture for cabins. These things will improve Putney long beyond your time on the Hill. We are grateful for them. And it is one more reminder as you leave this hill today, class of 2025, Putney's loss is the world's gain. On a day like today, I don't know if we are celebrating an end or a beginning. Some things are ending. Seniors, you have to leave. In fact, make sure you know where you're sleeping tonight, because it cannot be here. The term commencement, though, suggests a beginning. And there is some promise in thinking of this morning as a beginning. I want you to use what you learned here in the big wide world. You changed Putney, and now it is time to commence doing the same thing out there. The problem, though, is that the people in front of me are not new. Grant shared the other day a conversation with Lindsay and younger students. You won't remember classes or content specifically, said Lindsay, but that's not the important part. What you learn is what I learned, how to be a human. I already feel like I'm a different person now, replied the underclassman. Lindsay replied, I'm not a different person, just a better version of myself. I think that's right. Your time at Putney helped you discover what is already inside you, but it was always there. So we're at more than a beginning. Then I looked up what the word graduation is derived from. It comes from the Latin word gradus, or step. Now I think we're on to something. Today represents a step forward for all of you. But it is not like the climb is going to stop. Every day of your lives, I hope you work on being a better version of yourselves. Your time at Putney will make this journey easier, though. Class of 2025, you can leave Putney, but Putney does not have to leave you. So much of what you have to do, you've already done. You know how to imagine things that have never happened and ask why not. You will always know how it feels to think you could not do something only to pull it off. You will always know how to measure yourself against your aspirations instead of against others or where you were yesterday. I have faith that you will do great as long as you remember the great that you did here. In the winters of your life, you can always think back to these hills and the barns and fields of Elmley Farm. Remember your art studios and your classes, your classmates, and your teachers. And may you draw from this experience a lifetime of inspiration and support. I've ended my third commencement 3 years in a row now with a blessing from the Irish, who are my people. It's apt for times like this, and it's a far more eloquent way than I can imagine to wish you well. With slight modification, it goes like this. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be at your backs. May the sun shine warm upon your faces, and the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may you hold each other in the palms of your hand. Congratulations, class of 2025. Farewell, Godspeed, and come home often. Thank you. I now have the honor of introducing you to John McIntosh, parent of 2 Putney graduates and the chair of Putney's Board of Trustees. John, thank you for your incredible leadership at Putney.
Thanks, Danny. This is my first speech as the board chair here, so I ask for you to set the bar kind of low. So, Putney class of 2025, it's great to be with you today. And on behalf of all the trustees, and there are a few here, I think I saw Marnie, Mia, Juju. If you're here, raise your hand. On behalf of all the trustees, I've now lost my speech, but that's fine. We'll figure it out. I want to say congratulations on your imminent graduation. I have FOMO today because I did not go to the Putney School. But to be honest, I'm not sure that I would have stepped up and taken advantage of all the things that Putney has in the way that you obviously have. Okay. We're going to find it. All right. The dorms close at 5 o'clock, which means your time at Putney is short, and the things you should be doing include talking to your friends, visiting your favorite places, thanking, as I think Felix did with Glenn, whoever the teachers are that have been the most important to you, maybe even making amends with those where you still have an outstanding beef. So I am going to take very little of the time that you could use doing those things by speaking. But when you think, God, that speech was short, do not think it's because I don't care about you. It's because I do. So the Board of Trustees, which I have the privilege of chairing, I guess has ultimate responsibility for the direction of the school. And I think that what is or should be always in the back of our minds, floating in the room, is what is the best thing to do for the growth and development of the students that are in the school and the students that will be here in the future. And that's an easy question to ask, but not always an easy question to answer, because as we heard from our chorus, we have some very strong fundamental beliefs to begin with, but every day is different, and there's things we know and there's things we don't know, and we face constraints. And so what is the right thing to do for the growth and development of the students, and how do we know that we're doing it, right? Looking at you, I have faith that we must be doing something right, because I see, and some of you I know well, Owen, I've seen for years and years, others I probably met for the first time today. I think I'm going to hold my page from now on. I see a group of young people who've developed tremendously, and this may be a little bit video game-esque, and I apologize, but I almost see in you, over the years that I've watched you, the development of sort of, I don't know, powers. You can call them like Putney powers. For those of you who are older, in video games you get powers, and sometimes you just find them on the ground, and sometimes you have to achieve some challenge. But I think that's a way to think about you as Putney grads, that you have these powers that you've learned here, which hopefully will stand you in good stead for the rest of your lives. Now, what are these powers? Everybody's different, and you could divine them all sorts of ways, but self-confidence, perseverance, appreciation of nature, ability to spend time quietly, alone, accountability, ability to talk across difference. Those are the sorts of Putney powers that I see in people. And unlike some video game where the stork drops them, or you achieve some arbitrary challenge and get them, I think you built them here. You built them. You built them with the faculty and staff, in community with one another. And so I'm really excited. And again, I think if you're a barometer for how the school's doing, and if our ultimate challenge is how do we arrange things to make it more likely that you'll have the opportunity to develop these powers, we must be doing something right, because you're clearly a very powerful group. Tomorrow, great class of 2025, you will no longer be Putney students, and so our obligation to you in one way will be done. We will have done our job trying to give you these powers, and it will be your turn to put them to work. But I'm confident you're going to do that, and I think if you use what you've learned here, not only will your own life be more successful, however you define that, but hopefully you'll make positive change in all the different worlds that you're going to move in as you go through your own lives. The dorm at college, if that's where you're going, the neighborhood, the family, the workplace, whatever it is. I think that those powers will be valuable. And let me end by saying, you're out of here at 5. You will be graduates, and as I said, the board's thought is not what's the best thing to do for the graduates, it's what's the best thing to do for the students. But just because our responsibility in one way is over to you, in no way think that our love and concern for you is in any way diminished. We will be cheering from the sidelines. We'll be interested in what you're up to and how you're doing. And I would say, remember, although not today after 5, you're welcome to come back here anytime, physically or in your mind's eye. And I hope when you do, it's not in some sort of nostalgic desire to recover your lost high school days, but it's to come back and rejuvenate and restore the Putney powers that you feel right now, because the world needs them. So great class of 2025. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I want to congratulate you on your imminent graduation from Putney. The sun has come out, that's metaphorical. Go 2025.
Okay, wow. So it actually says wow. I wrote wow. First, thank you for including me in your special day. I am so honored. It has been my absolute joy to have lived and worked with all of you for the past 3, 2, or 1 year, depending on when you arrived. And for those of you that are 4-year seniors, I'm really sorry I missed that first year. As a class, you continue to amaze me. You told me at the start of this year that you wanted to make sure you left a positive impact and legacy, and you have not disappointed. I had so many ideas about what I'd want to share with you today. One would be a reminder to never doubt yourself enough that it causes you to not take the leap and try the hard thing, because you can do it, even when you think you can't. Or letting you know that the empathy and humanity you've been able to see in each other is a life skill that not everyone outside of Putney has been able to acquire and should take a master class from you all. Or I could highlight the fact that you've proven you are so not afraid to use your voice and speak up when you believe you know what is right, and that the world, especially now, needs more people like that. Then I started thinking about life after Putney and what words of wisdom, if any, would be helpful. Because let's be real, nobody understands this place unless they've experienced it. I remember my very first weekend as AOD. It was a Saturday around 8 p.m., and a few students, who were actually here, wanted to make cookies in the KDU. Now, of course, they had already spoken to Alexis. They knew where everything was in the kitchen, and they just needed an adult to be there and unlock the door. Now, please realize, I had just come from a very, very traditional New England boarding school, where if you actually went behind the counter, you would get spoken to. So to think that it was okay to go into the dining hall on a Saturday night was unreal. I had a moment where I thought, is this a test? They're testing me, aren't they? And then I figured I would chalk it up to, well, lesson learned, one of those fool me once kind of moments. I got my keys out of the bag, started walking towards the doors, and I said, let me just give Alexis a really quick call. I called and asked if it was okay if I opened the kitchen so students could make cookies. And I will never forget what he said. Of course it's okay. They already checked in with me earlier. Just remind them to turn off the lights and clean up when they're done. To say I was amazed would be an understatement. And then he adds, oh, and I got them special chocolate chips to use. Have fun. I opened the kitchen door, turned on the lights, helped get things going, and then I stepped out and called Fred, and I was like, so you're not gonna believe this. I'm in the kitchen making cookies with students. And he said, whose kitchen? And I said, the KDU. And he said, is that allowed? And I said, apparently it is. Now I know, to those of us who call Putney home, this story probably sounds so normal that you can't even understand why it is so not the norm. And you're probably thinking that it's even strange it's a story. But that, my friends, is the magic of this place. It really is where anything is possible. Side note, please do not go on to the next phase of your journey and walk into a kitchen like it's yours or you own it, because I promise you the response will be different. Then I started thinking, what else could be helpful to know? And so I did what anyone looking for random motivation would do. I went onto Instagram. But my reason was for more than scrolling. It was to reach out to alums and ask them if they could go back in time, what advice would they give to their just about to graduate Putney selves? And so if it's okay with you, I'd like to end by sharing some words of wisdom from those who sat in those very chairs last year and the year before. Also, I do need to say, I got a lot of responses. I couldn't include them all. I had to stay within time. I got 16. They're short. Don't worry. I'm still on time. But thank you to everyone who responded, because a lot of you were also here. Okay, here we go. Eli, class of 24. Do things that seem tedious, daunting, or embarrassing. They usually have a big payoff. Having a community like Putney means you're supported not only when you succeed, but also when you fail. I took that for granted. Cleo, class of 23. There's no in-dorms in college. Josephine, class of 24. I think about the growth I've made since high school, and I'm grateful for the amazing teachers who led me to be better. Demi, class of 24. Just because you're going to college abroad, you haven't figured it all out. For every answer, 3 questions arise. For every yes, 5 no's. You're still learning. Don't try to convince yourself otherwise. Sandy, class of 23. Some of you may be ready to sprint to your next destination, but hold on. Take a breath. Listen to the sounds around you. See the faces, the trees, the buildings. These small senses are your anchors, the ones you'll return to when you need to feel whole. Ash, class of 24. Trust in the way Putney taught you to learn. College has a learning curve. Keep using your free time well. Also, Putneyisms, like freaky juice, work jobs, and heads of school, need a lot of explaining. Jack, class of 24. Living alone is scary. It's taken leaps of faith. I learned that faith in myself at Putney. It is what you make of it. Believe in yourself. Wow, how did I end on something so corny? Nix, class of 24. Don't pass up opportunities just because you think they're, quote, for kids. Be young while you can. I'm going to Mongolia to be an archaeologist, for heck's sake. Kumi, class of 24. Don't be afraid to reach out. Everyone at Putney is always willing to help, like a family. Tom, class of 24. Sleep early if you have a 9 a.m., because college 9 a.m. is different. Forrest, class of 23. The reward for good work is more work, and if you don't know what that means, it'll come up to you one day and say hello. Xander, class of 24. Leaving Putney gives you a home to come back to and a checkpoint to see how far you've grown. Remember who you are right now. Past Xander, I am grateful to have been you. Rye, class of 24. You might feel like a fish out of water, and that's okay. Putney has shaped you in ways you will only begin to realize as time passes. Stick to your morals. Don't be afraid to be yourself. Others will value you for it. Cole, class of 24. Don't forget your roots. College is busy and distracts easily from the lives we have lived before. Put effort into appreciating the values that Putney has taught us. Noah, class of 24. Enjoy the simplicity of life on the hill. You'll miss food being made for you and your bills being handled. Thank the Putney people who helped you grow. And finally, John, class of 24. I would say to myself, it'll be okay. Try your best. And so on that note, I say to all of you, congratulations, be true to yourself, and don't forget, this will always be home. On that note, it is my pleasure to introduce Adina as one of our senior speakers.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here today, and thank you to my senior class for nominating me to speak today. I'm honored to speak for a group of people who I care so much about, and I'm very honored to be speaking next to Ray, who inspires me every day and is the most thoughtful writer I know. The summer before my freshman year, my mom was signing the slew of permissions for me. Permissions for riding in cars, taking aspirin, and using chainsaws. One of these permissions was a permission allowing me to swim in the puddle. I could not believe what I was hearing. I texted all my friends from home, telling them that my school had a pond. I was allowed to swim in it whenever I wanted. If I wanted to, I could go out during lunch, throw on my bathing suit, and have a beach day at school. And I didn't even need teachers. I was over the moon about swimming, and more importantly, I was over the moon about this new independence. Prior to Putney, in elementary school, I had been a total recess boss, and I ruled at any game of tag, but I'd never been on a sports team in my life. We barely even played team sports in PE. I'd always thought of myself as athletic, given my success at Foursquare, tag football, and other recess games, but I'd never gotten to give real sports a try. As crazy as it sounds, the sports at Putney were one of the reasons I chose the school, and I mean, who does that? Putney doesn't have tryouts, which meant that no matter how bad I was, I'd be able to play on a team. I joined the soccer team freshman year, and it was incredibly welcoming. I had absolutely no soccer skills, yet I was playing a real sport with a real team and real coaches. And I even had my own jersey with my own number. After our first game, Saskia, Juno, and I did a photo shoot at the Courier bathroom in our new jerseys, and I felt I'd made it to the big leagues. I was a part of a team. I was lucky, and I acclimated to Putney very quickly. By the time I came back from my first long fall, I felt confident and comfortable in the community. Maybe I even felt a little bit too much like I ran the place, but luckily, upperclassmen exist, and they knocked me right into place. I had an incredible first year at Putney, but a few rough patches at the beginning of sophomore year led me to believe I'd already outgrown the school. In a year, I went from overjoyed and curious to underwhelmed and bored. Putney felt small, and I felt like it was no longer the place for me. I had my best friend. I love you so very much, Owen. But besides that, I felt pretty alone. I didn't enjoy my classes all that much. I didn't think I was being pushed, and I was sure that they weren't preparing me for whatever was next. Try not to laugh at me when I say this, but I decided I needed to find somewhere more traditional. My view at that point was Putney's unique and progressive curriculum wasn't fit to push me in the ways that I was sure I needed to be pushed. Plus, I also thought that a larger student body would mean more friends. I found a new school, and I fell in love with the idea of it. This school had double the student body of Putney. an academic system that functioned as a funnel to shoot students into top colleges, strong athletic programs that promised me a bright athletic career, and a drink machine in the dining hall with every frickin' flavor of Gatorade. After submitting my application, I talked to Brian Q. He told me something incredibly important, a lesson that I think can shape anyone's experience for the better. This is the lesson. If you tell yourself you're unhappy, you're gonna be unhappy. And if you go into everything you can with a positive, I wanna be here and I wanna give it my all attitude, you're gonna have mindset, surprise, you're probably gonna be pretty happy. While I waited to hear back on my application, I took Brian's advice and gave Putney my absolute all. I wasn't going to sit around unhappy until March, counting down the days until I heard if I had been accepted. I was going to get everything out of Putney that I could. I joined the Nordic ski team and I found the competitive and challenging team energy I was looking for and made some of my best friends. Before I walked into class, I gave myself a little pep talk, reminding myself that I wanted to be there and engaged with the material in any way I could. Amazingly enough, and likely no surprise to Brian, I rekindled my love for Putney. When I got into the other school, my mom made me go to the admitted students' day, just to make sure that staying at Putney was the right choice. I'm glad she did, because that day taught me an incredibly valuable lesson. Less is more. This other school handed its students so many opportunities, bajillions of classes, sports, clubs, fancy buildings, gourmet meals, swimming pools, ice skating rinks, the list will just keep going on. But all of those opportunities, and it was still missing the most important of them all, the freedom to create your own path. I think about it like this. At that school, students were handed a pre-built Lego set. Sure, it's an epic Lego set, maybe the Millennium Falcon or the Hogwarts Castle, but it's super glued together and it can't be tinkered with. At Putney, we're handed a box of miscellaneous Lego pieces, and we get to build anything with them. Like the archive Max built, the symphony Theoden wrote, or the student profiles Camille created of the Putney Central School. Fewer prescribed opportunities at Putney means that as students, we have the freedom to make our education our own. We have teachers and parents and programs that trust us and give us the space to grow, imagine, and create. And this freedom gives us ownership, and this ownership is what turns us into the engaged problem solvers that we are. Now, every once in a while, less isn't more. Before setting out on my junior year long fall, we were checking over group gear, and there was no toilet paper to be seen anywhere. I pointed this out to Danny, my trip leader. Well, that's what rocks are for, Adina. In that moment, less was not enough, and it certainly wasn't more. But fortunately, on top of everything else, Putney teaches us how to advocate for ourselves. I set Danny straight about how hardcore I was, or wasn't in this case, got a roll of TP from the library bathroom, and I'm sure everyone was thankful for my advocacy, even Danny. The values that I've highlighted, giving things your all, less is often more, and self-advocacy are some of my biggest takeaways from my time at Putney. I believe that these values can help anyone make the most of their times at Putney, and I also believe that these values can help anyone make the most of their time in the world outside of Putney. When we all go out into the world, which I guess happens tomorrow, or 5 p.m. today, we may be a bit sad, but I hope we will give ourselves that little pep talk and remind ourselves how much we want to be wherever we are, because the world is going to hand us a lot of Legos, and we are all Putney graduates, which means we're prepared to make a whole lot of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Adina. What is the meaning of life? Okay, maybe that's too big. I'll start smaller. How about what does it mean to be a Putney student? There we go. While anyone who attends this school is, by definition, a Putney student, we have a grander idea of what it means, an idea of what it should look like to act like a Putney student. We even use phrases like, "that's so Putney." That's so Putney can be when you combine two mediums that seemingly have no business being interdisciplinary. That's so Putney can be when people from all over the world sit together and speak different languages at a KDU table. That's so Putney can even be when the schedule changes at the last minute and no one's quite sure where they're supposed to be. So it seems to be a pretty expansive idea. At one point during junior year, Adina and I were disagreeing about something or other Putney related, and she said, "I don't know, that's just what I think, but I'm not really a very Putney student." In my mind, Adina was just about the most Putney you could get, so I wondered, what does it mean to be a Putney student? I've realized now there are an infinite number of versions I could tell you. There is the aspirational Putney student. This is the version we see in the handbook and in the Putney core of what a Putney student could look like. Of course, the reality doesn't entirely align with this because that Putney is something we're striving towards. We're experimental, we're still growing. Alternatively, there's an archetypal version of what it means to be a Putney student. The one who gets up every morning at 5 a.m. to do barn chores and goes to sleep after 9 p.m. once their basket weaving class has ended. But these are just ways in which we do Putney. I think being Putney is defined by the questions we ask of ourselves and surroundings. The question I've asked myself the most over the last 4 years has probably been, why am I here? At first glance, this question may seem apathetic, but entertain it for a second. My first week of freshman year, we read the David Foster Wallace commencement speech, "This is Water." You may be familiar with the parable he's referencing. 2 young fish are swimming along and they encounter an older fish, who nods at them and asks, "Morning, boys, how's the water?" The young fish keeps swimming and one turns to the other, says, "What the hell is water?" You can understand why we would read this in the first week of Humans in the Natural World, a class aimed at orienting all 9th graders to the school and land we live on. It makes us question the things we take for granted, the realities hiding in plain sight. However, when I think of this story, I think of the 3 hours I spent on it, a mere 15-page reading. It was the first time I'd ever annotated as I read, and that Wednesday afternoon, my first week at the Putney school, it took me 3 hours of staring at the page to figure out how to both read and write at once. I swore I would never make it through Putney if I had to write my thoughts on every single reading, and yet here I am, graduating. Why am I here is the kind of question you ask when you've been staring at the same page for half an hour. And it brings me back to the first lesson Putney taught me, and one that has always stayed with me. Ask why. Why you're here and why you're doing what you're doing, because letting a little doubt into your life is a valuable tool. I asked myself this question again and again over the course of my 4 years here, not because I regretted my choices, but as a reaffirmation of them. To the doubt, I can answer, I'm here because I love the community. I'm here because of the relationship I've formed with the land. I'm here because now annotating and thinking critically about what I'm reading is a reflex, not a chore. I'm here because I want to be. Why am I here is part of a continual cycle of doubt and reaffirmation. So to me, being a Putney student means not taking things as they are, but questioning why they are that way. Then you reach senior year, and the question, why am I here, seems to get louder and louder from within and all around. While the notorious senioritis is a part of being a senior, what does it mean to be a senior at all? Some of the connotations you might have with it can be found in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, which has 4 definitions. Someone older than another, someone with a higher standing or rank, a member of a program of the Girl Scouts for girls in the 9th through 12th grades in school, or simply the words senior citizen. So essentially, you can be older, better, a Girl Scout, or get an early bird discount. None of these are particularly helpful in defining the experience you're about to conclude, so I'll tell you my definition. To be a senior means you've run out of people to look up to. Now you're the role models, the ones responsible for a lot of mistakes and the ones trying to figure out what comes next. You stand in this strange position, older than all those you share space with and younger than all those you'll go on to join. You spend most of the year searching for your next home, so you're already halfway out the door. For me, the idea of being alone up here, of being the role model for future Putney classes with no one left to model myself after, was terrifying. When I look back on freshman year, I almost don't recognize the place that this is or the person I was, but I remember the way it was defined for me by the seniors. Mie, a recent Putney graduate, once told me that when her class graduated, they believed the Putney school would never be the same, that the school as they knew it couldn't exist without them. She came back to work here only 4 years later to find that while everything had changed, maybe it was also all the same. She told me Putney is made of people, and the people come and go, and the community fluctuates and bends but doesn't snap. What I love about this story is that the Putney students' dramatic flair is apparently one thing that never changes. The school will never be the same without us. Something I'm beginning to think every single senior class has said to themselves before graduating, and here we still are. We still sing, though the songs shift and change. We still do card burning, but we tell different stories. We still do bond, but with a different generation of cows. The Putney School is continuously undergoing an impressive amount of change, and yet it will still stand. Yes, Putney will be different next year. Maybe it will never be the same without the biggest graduating class in history. But the new generation of seniors, you juniors out there, will shape it until you graduate, probably also muttering that it will never be the same without you. Class of 2025, my wonderful peers who have made this place so special. It's time for us to learn what it means to be a Putney graduate. Time for me to address that we're gathered here today to celebrate something ending and the beginning of something entirely different. I'm not yet a Putney graduate. There's at least a few more speeches before that happens, but here's what I believe it to mean. There's only one way to retroactively fail the Putney School. You may have your diploma, but you will have failed if you stop asking why things are the way they are. This is how you can put what you learned to use. Ask yourself why you went to Putney. There are so many examples of things you did here that kept you busy, so make it worthwhile. Don't let all of it just be busy work. Why did you get up at 5 a.m. to feed cows if not to learn the value of work? Or what it means to tend to land and animals, to care for something larger than yourself, to see those beautiful barn sunrises? Why did you go to evening arts if not to stretch yourself creatively, try something new, and make art in community? To attend a private school with an entirely different educational style is an intentional choice, so make it one. Use your education. Question your surroundings. We search for purpose and meaning in life through reflection, through doubt and answer, over and over. The work of asking why is never done, and without it, we wouldn't be continually learning. So, as much as I hate to say it, maybe there's a reason we wrote all of those self-reflections. We all need people in our lives who let the doubt creep in so that we can answer the questions that follow. The community will change when we doubt, and it will grow from the questions we raise. We inherited this school from the generation of students before us and built our own traditions on the groundwork they had laid. So I'm not actually up here alone, as I had feared. I'm here with everyone who came before me and taught me what it means to be a Putney student. I'm not going into the world by myself. I'm going into it with a whole community of people who've learned what it means to be a Putney student, learned what it means to be a senior, and are all about to learn what it means to be Putney graduates. Thank you all.
Carrie Kennedy is a lawyer, author, activist, as well as the president of Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights, a nonprofit human rights advocacy organization. Carrie graduated from the Putney School in 1977 before attending Brown University. At Putney, Carrie wrote for the literary magazine. So I'm going to read a poem that she wrote in the winter of 1977. This is Romance by Carrie Kennedy. And when I wake, I wish to sleep the day away in dreams of you. And when I think, I try to touch the way we felt when love was new. And when I look, I see again and can't pretend our love could grow. But when I wish, I try to see that you and we can't, I know. Please join me in welcoming Carrie Kennedy as the commencement speaker for the 90th graduating class.
Oh my God, that is so embarrassing. Burn that book. Okay, thank you so much. It is great to be back with all of you. You braved the cold, you milked the cows, you chopped the wood, you sang the madrigals, you scrubbed the dishes at the KDU, you wove the scarves, you swam the puddle, you tended the gardens, you skied the trails, you performed the plays at Campbell Theater, created the art, engaged in the classes, learned through work and play. You found your voice, you read the books, completed the homework, wrote the papers, took the tests, lived your values, made lifelong friends, and made your parents and teachers and the staff here at Putney proud. Congratulations, graduates. When Danny asked me to speak here today, I didn't hesitate. I loved my time at Putney, and I am delighted to return. As you graduate, I encourage you to take some time to reflect on the lessons you learned at this uniquely ambitious experiment of a school and what you'd like to carry forward during the rest of your lives. Looking back, those lessons for me are abundantly clear. I spent my childhood surrounded by the most competitive people I have ever met. The most competitive, you ask? Yes, and that too is a competition. We competed over who got the first shower in the morning, who got the front seat at the carpool, who finished their homework first, who got the largest scoop of ice cream for dessert, who chose what to watch on TV, and who was the last to turn off the lights at bedtime. After every game of hockey or ski race or quarrel, the first question my parents asked me was, "Did you win?" Then I arrived at Putney, and over 3 beautiful years, no one asked that question, not even once. Instead, we modeled ourselves on Carmelita Hinton's vision of community, striving for excellence, not to serve ourselves, but to serve one another. We lined up for fire drills with 250 students and faculty, shoulder to shoulder, passing endless red buckets, half filled with water, which we then splashed onto pretend fires so we would be prepared for the real thing. What we lacked in aim, we made up with enthusiasm. Thank goodness the real thing never happened. Scores of juniors spent spring semester learning everything there was to know about graduating seniors and then painted the most extraordinarily beautiful diplomas celebrating this magical place. Mine is still hanging at the top of my staircase. We rose midwinter at 20 below, well before the crack of dawn, to milk cows and shovel manure so that our farm would be self-sufficient. We showed up because we knew if we didn't show up, someone else would be burdened by what we failed to accomplish. In class and outside of class, we struggled with the political issues of our time and thought through what really mattered to us as individuals and as a community. We received grades, but we never knew what they were, so as to dampen the competition and foster cooperation. From the farmer, we learned together how to take care of cows and chickens. From the carpenter, we learned how to build a dorm together. From the cook, we learned how to bake bread together. From our hockey coach, we learned how to trust one another. Those lessons in the importance of teamwork, and most of all in building partnerships and community, made a profound difference in my life. And from our beloved teachers, we learned history and algebra and biology. But most important, we learned to love to learn. And for that, I am forever grateful. And we had fun. We loved hiking Putney Mountain and swimming at local waterfalls and making up new lyrics to our favorite songs about antics we had done, and singing and dancing and playing with one another. In short, embracing a deep and abiding sense of joy. That profound joy, I think, helped pull us through the tougher times. Putney was high school, and none of us were spared from the realities of life around us. Two of my best friends were brutally sexually assaulted on a weekend jaunt to New York City. Another friend who was gay and still in the closet because of the bias against sexual minorities was one of the first Americans to die from HIV/AIDS. Both traumas left me yearning for justice, and both left me grateful to be in a community where the commitment to social justice was wide and deep. As the leader of the human rights organizations, thanks to my experience here, I understood that those closest to the problems in society are closest to the solutions, and that the only viable way to make lasting change is to work shoulder to shoulder with partners down the street and across the globe, listening carefully, envisioning solutions together, and building one another's capacity to be effective in the future. This came home to me just a few weeks ago, when I watched in horror as my country systematically kidnapped 278 men whose only common denominator seems to be that they escaped the brutality of the Maduro regime in Venezuela and that they donned tattoos. With thin to no evidence, a near complete lack of due process, and an admission of mistaken identifications, they were whisked to ICE facilities and then loaded on a plane, and then, against a judge's explicit order to cease and desist, they were dumped in CICOT, the most notorious prison in El Salvador, famous for overcrowding, cruelty, and torture. There, they have no ability to see family, a judge, or a lawyer, and they face a lifetime in prison, many never having broken a single law. They were here legally. Along with so many Americans, I said, what can be done? And then I remembered Putney. Fight injustice, work together, build community. A lawyer on our team spoke on a Venezuelan radio station. After that, a dozen families of detainees reached out to our offices. We called colleague organizations and created a coalition, with each organization taking on as many detainees as they could handle. Next, we reached out to the leading human rights organizations and prisoners' rights organizations in El Salvador. They said, come see for yourselves. So we went to San Salvador. There we listened to former prisoners and to family members of detainees and to investigative journalists and to human rights defenders. We listened to those closest to the problem, and we learned from them. When we held a press conference, the police raided it and tried to shut us down. But our partners were unfazed, and we continued to enumerate the violations of domestic and international law committed by both the American administration and El Salvador's Bukele regime. We are now bringing a case on behalf of our clients before the Inter-American Court for Human Rights. The Inter-American Court is a Supreme Court that sits above all the Supreme Courts in Latin America. At any given time, RFK Human Rights has about 35 cases before the Inter-American Court and its sister court, the African Court for Human and People's Rights. We have never lost a case, and we do not intend to lose this one. So I guess those lessons of my childhood to win, win, win were drilled in pretty deep. But they were tempered by the profound lessons in building community and the pursuit of justice that I learned right here, and the all-important lesson to hold two opposing thoughts in one's head at the same time and choose not one or the other, but both. Build community and win. Of course, not all of you will lead human rights organizations, but you know from your experience here at Putney that you can each make a profound difference for your communities and for the world. The difference comes from every act of decency and kindness, from taking a stand where you see injustice, and most of all, from seeing and treating every person as someone who deserves care and respect, regardless of who they are, where they come from, or what their status is. That is part of what we learned on this hilltop, and it will stay with you for all of your lives. So as you leave here today, seek excellence, keep learning, build community, find your purpose, take action, serve others, embrace dialectic thinking, fill your life with joy, and also win. And I would like to end with these words from Langston Hughes. He wrote, "Let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, and yet must be, the land where everyone is free, the land that's mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me, who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain, must bring back our mighty dream again. We, the people, must redeem our land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains, and the endless plain, all the stretch of these great green states, and make America America again." So graduates, embrace the lessons of Elmley Farm and make America America again. Thank you.
Good morning. Are you all ready to graduate? Let's do this, seniors. Ariana Rachel Benzakian. Ruby Tessa Goldner. Sadie Rahel Friedman. Ethan J. Downey. Amira Saeed Hassan Abdelmajid. Camille Paige Rankin Weber. Tressa Fern Yuri. Valentine R. Shoot. Lindsay Vaughn Jaffe. Ray Oprava. Maeve Rose Leslie Gawalt. Caleb Noah Kirschenbaum. Mars Ebling. Wilbur John Elsesser. Maya Julianne Rapport Essian. Raleigh Keel. Felix George Griffin. Ezra Stern. Aaron J. Tobin Mapleson. Camilo Barrios. Augusta Galway Rogers. Theoden Brown. Carutham A. Matope. Mira Annapurna Wilsey. Coda Atkins. Makeda Salam Wagner. King, beloved, butterfly, Yolanda Guy Niame Jones. Catherine Clackus Eidenberg. Juno Fyan Schaefer. Lucy Elizabeth Norton. Kate Karen Berry. Mays Elena Sperling. Liam Augustine Donahue. Madeline Castle Baldwin. Max Gray Randall. Phoenix, Fuller, Thelonious, Trueheart, Skookum, River, Blythe, Ford. Natalie Ann Norwood. Hannah Malin. Plum Sanico. Quincy W. Rose. Finn Stevenson Ryan. Owen Christopher Graves. Twee Louisa Schmitz. Briani Medrano Mercedes. EJ Chadbourne. Rowan Sky Scott. Stephen Smith. Sapphire Lotus Chambers. Gabriel Jerome Waldor. Abram Newton. Elliot E. Loyal. Correga Keza Paquita. Sophia Laurie Gumenick. Charlie Perry. Finnegan Pucciarello. Yeah, Finnegan. Sasha Elise Pagan Wales. Benjamin Noah Orlinski. Yang Ma. Molly Alexandra Arnold. Lydia Marie Lee. Sabri Ramazanov. Jackson Reyes Enriquez Hansen. Mackenzie Naomi Sargent. Magnolia Beatrix Brown Ripple. Jia Sheng. Adina Moss Suchman. Aiden Clark Duralt. Feiying Gao. Saskia Anya Bukout. Nev Claire Restino. Skylar Bowden Siegfried. Lewis Michael Broker. Lana Lee Major. Miles Madeline Luz Myers. Cassidy Susan Wells. Congratulations to the Putney class of 2025.
Congratulations, class of 2025.